At this point, Jeff, if you want to hop in and comment on this rotation that we are looking at right now.
Yeah, this was a storm that we've been tracking since it was a severe thunderstorm. Oh, no. Delaney, take it away.
So we're going to go ahead and look once again at this. We're still looking at this rotation that is a better picture on radar. We are still seeing this that is moving right over that I-81 corridor. And again, that concern is that it is a very, very populated area and that is moving further north right now, that we are still seeing this back into effect. Holston Spring Road, again, still that area of rotation that we are still watching into your region.
And Delaney, this is a storm that we have been watching really as it progressed from near Boone, North Carolina, all the way through the border with Virginia and then into parts of Grayson County. This was a storm that we actually checked out briefly on air with the last tornado warning. Had a little bit of weak rotation in it as it was moving right over Mount Rogers. And now, of course, as it has emerged, most of the severe weather with this, most of the tornadic activity with this is actually in Smith County, but it's right along the Smith and Wythe County line. This is Rural Retreat right here. The good news is Wytheville, you're going to be out of this one, okay? You're not going to be impacted by this tornado warning. This is a cell that right now is pretty much hugging the Smith and Wythe County line as it does move to the north, maybe a slight jog to the northeast at a clip of around about 15 to 25 miles per hour. What I want to do is turn on the storm relative velocity on this. This is again a tool that you've seen us use a lot here over the course of the last 2 days or so. The couplet, the rotation in this is rather impressive, unfortunately. We'd like for it to not be butted up against each other, these reds and greens, but fact of the matter is they are at this point. Gross close areas around Stinson. Again, you are looking at basically the border with Smith and Wythe counties. Again, the worst weather is barely in Smith County, but just to give you an idea, Rural Retreat is located right about in this general area right in here. So again, we are very close to Rural Retreat with this storm. Should just miss Rural Retreat by maybe a mile at the most, over towards Gross Close and Stinson, because here's Rural Retreat right here, give you a little bit more of an angle as to what we're looking at here on I-81. Wytheville's right here. So Wytheville, again, no weather worries. You're going to be safe from this one, but Rural Retreat just down the road a little bit. You are highlighted in this tornado warning, although for now, it looks to stay just to the west of Rural Retreat. Okay. Just getting word that we've got another tornado warning. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over and show you what we're seeing with the other tornado warning.
And Jeff, I do have that bulletin.
Yeah, can you go ahead and, yeah, there it is.
Yes,
right there.
so we do have that tornado warning that was just issued for West Central Charlotte County, and that is also including North Central Halifax County. So this is moving a little bit slower. It's moving north at 10 miles an hour. And again, we're still checking in on that rotation. That couplet also looks pretty impressive.
It does. Those reds and greens are butted up right against each other. So we've got two different tornado warnings we're now tracking here this evening. One for South Side and the other one for the Mountain Empire. Okay, so this is a tornado warning right here, and let's zoom into it, and I do want to take a closer investigation on this one. We've been focusing on the one in the Mountain Empire, but I want to actually zoom into this one because it does look as though, yeah, right about there. That's where we're seeing the couplet. Again, South Boston, Halifax, you're not in this. The tornado warning is for areas a little bit further up to the north, right along the Charlotte and Halifax County line. It appears as though there are no towns or big towns in association with this tornado warning over towards South Side. I want to zoom in a little bit more so we can do some street level mapping with you and show you who is seeing what. It looks like Hunting Creek Road areas and around I believe that's Coles Ferry Road, over towards Neal's Corner Road. So if you're looking at this, areas around West Door Road, Carrington, Crossroads, Neal's Corner, and Providence. These are the four little areas that right now are being impacted by this tornado warning that is kind of hugging the Charlotte and also Halifax County line. Chester Road, you're in this tornado warning as well. But the most spin going on right now, pretty much right over Hunting Creek Road, West Door Road, areas in and around Carrington. So if you're just joining us, we've got one tornado warning for a small sliver of both Halifax and Charlotte counties. And we've got another tornado warning further to the west. This includes portions of the Mountain Empire. This tornado warning in effect for mainly portions of Wythe and Bland counties. It looks like now most of that rotation has shifted with this initial tornado warning more from Smith County now into Wythe County. Okay, so rural retreat, you're right here. Zoom in a little bit more. I do want to use I-81 as kind of a road to talk about here. I-81 is right here, okay? Most of the rotation is just, and I mean just to the north of I-81, okay? So rural retreat itself, probably within a quarter of a mile of the rotation. Most of the rotation right now along and or just to the north of Interstate 81 going from Smith into Wythe County. So again, this is very much right along the Smith-Wythe County line, but when we were first talking about this tornado warning cell, it was more in Smith County. Now that has shifted a little bit more now into Wythe County. And of course, Wythe County is certainly one of the counties here in our viewing area. And as this does jog to the north, it may actually creep into portions of Bland County here within about the next 15 minutes or so. Okay, so as we look at the bigger picture again, if you're just joining us, one tornado warning here across the Mountain Empire for portions of Bland and Wythe counties. Another tornado warning here out across mainly Halifax County, but it's a small little sliver of Charlotte County as well. We're also watching this very large orange box right here. That is where we have a severe thunderstorm warning. That severe thunderstorm warning is in effect here for the next little while, and that does include areas in and around the Roanoke Valley. Okay, so this severe thunderstorm warning that we are seeing includes areas around Cave Spring, around Roanoke. Salem is included. Ironto is. Boones Mill over towards areas in and around Fincastle in Botetourt County, areas around Troutville as well. So lots of thunder and lightning really extending from Bedford County south and west into portions of Floyd and or Patrick counties as well. So Delaney, two different storms we're watching, both of which showing rotation as we speak. I also want to point out, and I'm just seeing this right here, there's another storm that is really an efficient lightning producer right over Appomattox. So Appomattox right now dealing with some really, really nasty weather. As a matter of fact, while we're here, let's take a look at the hail core that's going on in and around Appomattox and see if there's any rotation in this one. And there is some broad rotation. There is some broad rotation just to the south of Appomattox, just to the south of Highway 460. That one doesn't have a warning on it right now, but it's something we'll be watching for you very closely here at your local weather authority. Delaney, back to you.
So what we have is the storm track that is now pulled up, and this is for Bland, and we are also including this into, this is the one that is now moving into Bland and Wythe, so this is a little bit further west. We still have those two different warnings that are now active that we are watching. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up this storm track. So we're looking at those most populated areas as this is the actual leading edge of the rotation. So this is what is going to be the beginning, the very, very beginning of this rotation as soon as this will get to your location. So we have that storm relative velocity on there, and that is actually showing where that rotation is located. So this is a quick jog to the north, about 30 miles an hour. So the next town included, Sharon Springs, at 13 minutes away from that, the leading edge of that rotation being into your backyard. Ethna, 15 minutes. Spratchner Place, 21 minutes, into Sweeter, 24, 26 in Grapefield. So again, as this does move further north, we are eventually going to see this. Whether or not this holds together, that is to be determined, but eventually moving over that West Virginia line into Princeton as well. But again, this is a very, very fast-moving storm. Even just minutes ago, we were chatting about this rotation crossing I-81. This is now further to the north. You'll notice that polygon has also been adjusted in that most recent update from the National Weather Service. And this, at least the rotation that you're seeing on radar here, is beginning to switch up in these most recent scans. And and we'll pop up on that hail layer to see the hail at least not being picked up by the computer at this time, still assuming some heavy rainfall, and that is into Bland and with. Now let's check in. Now we have now two, Jeff, that just updated that Appomattox was just warned into 9:45. Now, let's check in on the actual bulletin from the Weather Service. I don't know, Jeff, if you have that pulled up, I can go ahead and read it.
I think it was issued just now, so it is not quite out on the National Weather Service page just yet.
I actually have it up here.
Oh, you do? Very good.
This was, okay, they just sent out this text, okay, until 9:45, and this is moving at 10 miles an hour. So this is exactly the same speed as the one that we are just seeing over into Halifax and into Charlotte
How
counties.
fast is it moving, Delaney, did you say?
10 miles an hour
10.
to the north. So this is pedaling. This is
Mm-hmm.
pedaling. But this is once again another radar indicated these two different systems. And Jeff, this is the exact one that you were saying that is a very, very big lightning producer in Appomattox right now.
So 3 different tornado warnings we're watching. And again, this does not happen very often. Usually we break in for one. But there are 3 different ones going on right now, impacting 3 different zones. We've got one for the Mountain Empire / New River Valley. That one actually, looking at it, appears to maybe be weakening a little bit, which is great news because at one point in time, the couplet was pretty tight. Yeah, this is good news. This one's becoming a little broader as it moves away slowly but surely from Rural Retreat. Rural Retreat was once in this tornado warning. You're out of this tornado warning now, and it is again for areas just to the north of Rural Retreat. So that's the first tornado warning that we broke in for. That one may appear to be weakening, but I never get too excited with these because of the fact that these storms tend to strengthen and weaken, especially in the environment that we're in right now. These storms tend to breathe just like we do. As they inhale, they strengthen. As they exhale, they weaken. This is another storm that we were just talking about, and this one is nasty. This one just has a ton of lightning with it, and it is right over the town of Appomattox. It looks like Evergreen. Of course, we need not even mention any sort of tornado warning for those poor folks in Evergreen. It is not including Evergreen. Okay, so Evergreen is not included in this tornado warning. Thank goodness. Oh, yes, it is. I beg your pardon. Evergreen is in this, but looks to me like the worst of the spin is going to be just to the west of you folks in Evergreen, but man, is it close. We've got spin right now going around Mountain Cut Road, areas around Red House Road, seeing some rotation. So this is Appomattox right here. The town of Appomattox, you're about to have some major rotation pushing overhead here within about the next 3 minutes or so as this moves, again, slowly to the north at about 10 to 15 miles per hour. So Evergreen, you're included in this tornado warning. Appomattox, you're included in this tornado warning. And as we kind of take out the broader view here, this storm also incredibly capable of lots of thunder and lightning and incredibly heavy rain. I do want to put on the radar to show you the radar because the radar is something else with this storm. Very heavy rain, okay? Bears also repetition that it's nighttime. So not only is it nighttime, but we've also got incredibly heavy rain. So tornadoes are incredibly hard to spot at night. And obviously with the rain that we've been dealing with here throughout the course of today into this evening, any potential tornado is also likely rain wrapped, okay? Again, everything that we are seeing, everything we have seen today has been radar indicated with the exception of a funnel cloud that could have touched down briefly in West Virginia near Hillsborough earlier, okay? We got pictures in from Hillsborough, West Virginia earlier this evening, potentially showing maybe a brief funnel touching the ground for a brief period of time. But every other tornado warning that we have had both yesterday and today has been radar indicated, okay? So again, this is the latest tornado warning. That one's in effect until 9:45, is that right, Delaney? The Appomattox County one?
Until, yes, 9:45. Yes.
And of course, as we go a little bit further south, we've got this cell that is more in Halifax County as of now than it is in Charlotte County, but as it makes its journey to the north, it will be soon impacting you folks more in Charlotte County. It is awfully close to Brookneal, okay? There's Brookneal right here. Brookneal, for now, you are out of the tornado warning polygon. And as long as it continues to move north as opposed to any northwesterly movement, Brookneal, you'll miss this just to the west, okay? But it's close. So I want you, if you folks in Brookneal, to definitely stay tuned to this. Other thing I'll notice is this hail core right here. There's quite a bit of hail in this cell that is right along the Halifax and Charlotte County line. Good news is, with the latest scan that you just saw right before your very eyes, that purple went away, an indicator that maybe the hail is starting to either go away or at the very least get a little bit smaller. But as we again look at the storm relative velocity on this, still some rotation being spotted in the cell as it makes its journey slowly but surely up to the north. Delaney?
So I do have a storm track that is on this cell that we are watching into Halifax and Charlotte counties. Now again, as Jeff just mentioned, this rotation still in Halifax, but the towns that are included, Providence, 6 minutes away from the leading edge of that rotation. So that is as soon as you're going to see that center of that rotation. Again, radar indicated tornado, that radar indicated rotation that we are still seeing. Aspinwall, 38 minutes. And this is if this thing holds together for 38 minutes. Once again, this does expire at 9:45. So we will see again as if this polygon is adjusted at all. If that does continue to move to the north, this is a slow mover. This cell, both this one and the one in Appomattox, both moving at 10 miles an hour. In comparison to, once again, we'll go back to this this is the first warning that we popped on to talk to you about as this moves further into Smith and Tazewell with counties. This is moving at 30 miles an hour. And this rotation is looking at least a little bit better. Not that couplet, not quite as tight as what it once was. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but even these scans look to be improving even over the past few minutes.
That one is the least of our concerns at this point. I mean, yeah, there is some weak rotation in it. The good news with that one particular cell that you have highlighted right there, Delaney, is there are not a lot of people that are living in that one box. Okay, so the cell that we just showed you out across portions of Wythe and Bland counties, staying away from the major metropolitan areas, if you will, of Wytheville, even Bland, Rocky Gap. No need to worry about this as of now, okay? This is into rural areas of both Bland and Wythe counties. What is not a rural area, obviously, is the severe thunderstorm warning that we have in effect for portions of the Roanoke Valley. This is incredibly heavy rain. As we turn on the storm relative velocity on here, certainly doesn't look like there's any rotation in this one that's moving through the Roanoke Valley. It looks like it's just wind and hail. Gusty winds maybe up to 40, 50, 55 miles per hour. In addition to that, may have some small hail, but there's a whole lot of thunder and lightning, and man, there's a lot of loudness going on with that cell that is pushing just to the east of the Roanoke Valley, where we've got this cell that is approaching perhaps portions of Bedford County. That one having a whole lot of lightning with it as well. All right, let's go back on over and investigate these two other cells we're watching out across Appomattox County. Again, well, this also potentially a little bit of good news. There's still rotation, okay? There's still rotation, but you'll notice that there's a little space in between the green and the red. Earlier when we were investigating the cell, even before it was warned on by the National Weather Service, excuse me, the greens and reds were right next to each other. There was no room to actually see the red polygon in between the greens and reds. Now there's a little space in between, an indicator that the rotation may not be what it once was out across portions of Appomattox County. But what I want to do before we go a little bit further south is once again show you areas impacted by this. Evergreen is awfully close to this, but it appears to still be along the same roads that we just investigated a little while ago. It tells you just how slow this thing is moving. It's only moving to the north at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mountain Cut Road. I'm having trouble. I think that's Redfields Road. Also seeing potential rotation. As we go a little bit further down to the south, into portions of Halifax and Charlotte counties where we have this third tornado warning. This one still has a couplet that is a little bit concerning. You can certainly see almost like a circle where you see some green up here, and then this little hook of red going over here. This scan is maybe a little bit better, but still you have these greens and reds very close to each other. To give you an idea, this is right here, the Halifax and Charlotte County line. So right now the actual tornado warning is literally right along the Halifax and Charlotte County line. While we're here investigating this, let's give you some streets who are likely impacted by the cell. It looks like Coles Ferry Road, areas in and around potentially Cove and Watkins, Providence, seeing perhaps some rotation as well. So you go just to the north of Crossroads over towards Providence, in areas, it looks like just to the south and also to the east of Brookneal, dealing with some rotation. And obviously, as we put the radar back on, that we are also seeing some very heavy rain and also perhaps some hail cores as well. So again, areas of Halifax and Charlotte counties, heavy rain, thunder, lightning, but the main concern right now appears to be the spin that's going on in some of these cells. And Delaney, real quick, before I toss it over to you, this has absolutely nothing to do with Hurricane Helene. Okay, this is a stationary front. This is the same front that brought us the potential for severe weather yesterday. This same front hasn't moved much, so this has nothing to do with the actual tropical system. The tropical system's impact come for us here later tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, into the day on Friday. Back to you.
And now the Providence and Crossroads are now being affected by this. Up next, our next towns that we are watching, Aspinwall, 26 minutes until that rotation does reach your point. 34 minutes to Aspen, 36 to Harrisburg as this rotation, again, as Jeff was just mentioning, a lot of spin that we are seeing and a lot of that curving that is also a concern. So we'll jump back in and look at our radar imagery with this particular cell. Again, this is into Halifax and Charlotte counties. Still seeing, at least in our latest scans, again, even these storms have been changing from scan to scan when they begin to weaken and then they strengthen once again. This has been the story, friends, for the past 2 days, and that's what we call pulsing. These storms have been continually pulsing as that stationary front has been hanging out in our area. So you'll notice all of that purple going on right there. Likely some hail, pop on our hail layer and measure exactly the potential of this radar indicated hail, about a ½ inch. So that's around that pea-sized hail that is possible with the center when we're looking at for that rotation of that cell. So again, that storm relative velocity still showing a pretty tight couplet. Again, this is concerning as this does move just over that Halifax and Charlotte county line, literally straddling that warning, straddling that county line. So again, that rotation into the area, we'll go ahead and look on a street view and see what streets exactly. Coles Ferry Road, you are impacted by this. Mason Trail, also in the tail end of that warning as well. Going to see that rotation is still impacting. And as these scans are coming through, you'll notice there's not a whole lot of change. This is the cell moving at best 10 to 15 miles an hour. This is a slow mover. Appomattox warning now in a slow mover. So these streets that we are reading off to you, likely they're still hanging around for a little bit longer. Again, Coles Ferry Road still seeing some of that rotation. Woodburn Lane, also on deck for that rotation. Cove impacted by this in the very, very just further to the east, but still seeing a little bit of that influence of a little bit of that swirl going on. So again, that is that warning into Halifax and Charlotte. We'll go back up further north and get a check-in once again on Appomattox. This is looking at least a little bit improved, but we're still seeing at least a little bit less lightning than we were than just a few minutes ago, and this is
and the rotation appears to have lessened quite a bit, Delaney, as
Absolutely.
well.
That couple is encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still seeing at least a little bit of that rotation that's breaking apart. All good news, but nevertheless, that's right over 460. Even if there is a semblance of rotation that is headed straight for Appomattox Courthouse, again, that's the cell that is moving further north, about 10 miles an hour. So that is one of the other slow movers. So we still have, again, those two warnings, those into Appomattox, Halifax, and Charlotte. Those are all north about 10 to 15 miles an hour. And this is the other cell that we were watching. Again, that is into Bland at Tazewell, Wytheville, I believe. Yes, Wytheville County still included in that. even that couplet, still some of that pulsing activity going on.
Yeah, that actually looks a little better than it did about 5 minutes ago. It's not to say that it's major rotation or anything like that, but I was about to almost write that one off about 3-4 minutes ago because the rotation was. I wouldn't say non-existent, but it was very broad. That rotation has gotten a little more impressive at that point.
The couplet's definitely gotten a little bit tighter, and that leading edge of that couplet, the leading edge of that rotation, EFNA, 1 minute until the leading edge of that rotation is in your backyard. So do take cover in a bathroom, and the bathroom usually the best place. If there are windows, be sure and have something to cover your head, cover your face with. A bike helmet is a great idea for that. Suitor, about 10 minutes until that is into your backyard. Greatfield, 13 minutes. Bastion, 18, and Stowersville, 19. Jeff?
Yeah, thank you very much, Delaney. This again is showing you what the radar picture looks like for that Halifax and Charlotte County storm. You'll notice that Brookneal, far and away the biggest town that is close to this this tornadic cell. Brookneal's right here. So again, Brookneal, you are out of the actual warning, although right near Holtz Crossing, kind of in between Holtz Crossing and Brookneal, you've got a cell developing. Rest assured, that cell right here, not the tornadic one. The tornadic one is a little bit further out to the south and also to the east of you folks in Brookneal, again hugging the Charlotte and also Halifax County line. As we broaden the scope here just a little bit, if you're just joining us, 1, 2, 3 different tornado warnings we're tracking. I've been able to check my email. I know that we are interrupting programming. I apologize for that. It doesn't make us happy. We don't enjoy this one bit. But when there are multiple tornado warnings, we have to stay with the coverage here, okay? We have to stay with the coverage here and make sure the folks out across the Mountain Empire areas and towards Appomattox and also towards Halifax and Charlotte counties are safe. Okay, so please bear with us. We'll get to programming just as soon as we possibly can. All right, let's get back into this Appomattox County one. The bulk of the actual lightning with this cell is actually to the north of the actual worst of the weather. In addition to that, the hail core that was once over Appomattox appears to have diminished, okay? Because the lightning is further north of the actual center of the storm, and because of the fact that the hail core does no longer exist right over Appomattox, it could be a sign of this thing weakening just a touch. And as we look at the storm relative velocity, it is broad. It's certainly rotating, but it's very, very broad. And again, this is right over a pretty big town, okay? So Appomattox, probably the largest area right now as far as population is concerned, dealing with a tornado warning at this point. So again, you folks in Appomattox, Delaney has talked about this, but it bears repetition. Get to your safe place. A basement is always a #1 best place to be because tornadoes can't really hurt you underground. So if you have it, get underground into your basement. We always recommend also going into an interior section of your home. A closet is often a good place to be because a closet usually doesn't have windows and it's usually surrounded by other things. It's usually somewhat central on the lowest level of your home. And of course, Delaney mentioned the bathroom. If your bathroom has a window in it, get in the bathtub and cover yourself with some sort of blanket. But again, the latest scan with this one in Appomattox County showing that it has continued to weaken just a little bit. Again, when you lose a hail core, when you have all the lightning outside of where the most rotation is, a sign of this thing weakening. And with the latest scan here in Appomattox, I can tell you that the amount of spin, rotation in that cell has diminished quite a bit over the last about 10 minutes or so because, again, before the tornado warning came out, it looked very impressive. And then obviously seconds later, the National Weather Service did indeed issue that tornado warning for Appomattox County. All right, let's go a little bit further out to the south and let's take a closer investigative look at the cell over towards Charlotte and Halifax counties. This one appears to be spinning a little bit more than the one up north into Appomattox County. This cell is again getting closer and closer now to Charlotte County, moving potentially soon out of Halifax County and pushing a little bit closer to Charlotte County. Again, Delaney earlier was talking about some streets impacted. The most rotation here in the cell could actually soon be moving out of this polygon. So we'll be interested to see if the National Weather Service does anything else with this potential tornado warning, because of the fact that it looks like most of the rotation is on the very north end right now of where the polygon is. Worst of the weather right now in between Providence and Aspinwall areas and around Cove and Watkins, certainly seeing some rotation, but the worst of it appears to be in between the two little areas of Aspinwall and Providence. Delaney?
I do want to check in on the other warning that we were watching into Bland and Tazewell. Rotation, as we pull up the velocity here, is still looking at least a little bit improved, but again, with the past few hours, it feels like none of these storms you can kind of breathe a sigh of relief about because of that pulsing nature of that. But again, Appomattox scans are improving. That is good news, and lightning further north of it. But here into Tazewell, into Bland counties, as this moves just about Route 42, we're still seeing at least a little bit of rotation. And you'll notice on the structure of this on the radar, a little bit of that curvature. That's also an indicator of even we still have some of those wind speeds, those gusty winds, but along with that, still a little bit of rotation. Oh, and it looks like that just expired.
I was just going to say the
expire.
one in the Mountain Empire expired at 9:30, and the National Weather Service says the storm has weakened enough where, as of right this minute, no additional warning will be issued for that one. So
Fantastic.
Again, our westernmost tornado warning is now gone, and now we focus on the two tornado warnings that are a little bit further east towards portions of Halifax and Charlotte counties, also into Appomattox County. And again, stressing to you, about these polygons, the storm that we're watching in Charlotte and Halifax counties, that appears to be now pushing out of Halifax County and now more into Charlotte County. So we'll zoom in and show you that. That's one of the things I just noticed is the black line that signifies the county line between Charlotte and Halifax County is right about here. And the cell will soon be pretty much out of Halifax County and more in Charlotte County, as this storm, just in the last couple of scans, appears to have potentially lost some of its rotation as well. We're going to stay with it because at one point in time this was looking very, very unfortunately very healthy on the storm relative velocity and also on the radar. Other thing I want to point out is a little bit further down to the south. This would be in Halifax County. There's a little bit of rotation there as well. I want to kind of check out what we're seeing here. Okay, this allows me to explain something, and this is something we're going to be watching on Friday. Do you see these cells are separate, okay? They're little popcorn cells that are very, very powerful. These are called supercells, okay? These are the cells that generally tend to rotate more than, say, a large batch of rain and thunderstorms like what we're seeing here, okay? These showers and thunderstorms aren't rotating because it's kind of gone into a congealed line. But if you go a little bit further to the south and to the east where we do have these tornado warnings, do you see how, again, these cells are separated by a little bit? These are, again, called supercells. They're small, they're powerful, and they're not attached. And these are the cells that tend to spin. And when we go into Friday, when we are impacted by the tropical system, Helene, the hurricane, or the remnant moisture from the hurricane, what we're going to be looking at on the radar are cells similar to this, because in the bands themselves, we probably are not going to have a whole lot of spin. It's these individual cells that are separated that tend to do the most spinning. And we're seeing that right here with a cold front, a stalled out cold front pretty much right overhead for us. In addition to that, we have a warm front. And anytime we talk about a warm front in the spring and in the fall, generally speaking, those are kind of the boundaries, warm fronts, where we generally see these supercells develop. Warm fronts never spell good news when you're talking about rotation and instability, and we've had quite a bit of that today. Delaney?
And it bears mentioning, again, we still are keeping an eye on this rotation, but again, all of this giant line of storms in a row, and I just heard a thunderclap over our heads here at the station. not seeing a healthy amount of rotation, rather any rotation with that
And
line of storms.
Warning was canceled for that one too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's good.
All good news there. But so we are keeping an eye on these 2 tornado warnings. Zooming in a little bit further onto this Appomattox one. I was looking at this one earlier, this rotation that we're still seeing that lightning further to the north as this does continue to daily weaken. Still, this is in effect for about the next 11 minutes. This warning is in effect. So again, we'll keep with this and see what exactly over the next few minutes or so, if this polygon does get kind of edited, if this does get changed, or if this is a warning that is canceled entirely. But as of now, especially with that lightning that is moving further north and seeing that rotation that's at least broadening slightly, another thing to take into account when we're watching for this radar indicated rotation, that little bit of purple that we're seeing with that latest scan, that is indicative of some hail. So again, pop on that hail layer, and this is confirming exactly amount of hail right with that rotation, about a ½ inch size. So still pea-sized hail along with those heavy downpours, and all of that together with this rotation that we are still watching that is still present. This storm is still spinning right to that 460 area. So let's look and see exactly where that couplet is right there into Richmond Highway, right there, 131 into 460. This is also moving further north again, another slow mover, about 10 miles an hour, Old Courthouse Road. And again, with that most recent scan, looking at this, it's not quite as impressive as it once was, but still, again, worth mentioning if you are in those areas, Appomattox Courthouse into Route 460, as this does jog a little bit further north. And the majority of that, at least majority of that lightning, is starting to look a little bit better, starting to settle down a little bit. But that, again, that purple we're watching for that hail, also still present in those most recent scans. Now, that is the warning that is in effect for Appomattox until 9:45. Now, this polygon was changed recently. We're still seeing this into Halifax, but again, this rotation, it's starting to look at least a little bit more disorganized, but this is still in effect for Halifax and just over that line, barely over that line into Charlotte. That is until 9:45 this evening that we are still watching those 2 areas again of radar indicated. None of this, Jeff, is that still correct that nothing has been confirmed?
It is still radar indicated.
Okay.
Every warning that we've had here this evening has been radar indicated. And again, we've gotten some pictures from viewers in Hillsborough, West Virginia, where we had a tornado warning earlier today that was kind of along the Greenbrier-Pocahontas County line. Certainly looks like there could have been a potential tornado with that. Looking at the pictures, I'm not entirely sure the funnel cloud got quite to the ground, but you saw certainly that triangular shape coming out of the clouds in and around Hillsborough, West Virginia. And the hope is that we are not seeing any of that with any of these tornadoes here locally this evening, because obviously it's dark outside. We've got heavy rain outside. If there is indeed a tornado on the ground and there's no confirmation that there is, everything has been radar indicated, you would not be able to see it. Okay, because the rain is falling so heavily at this point in time. And you also have to keep in mind that we're working our way into October, and generally speaking, at this time of year, we're kind of wrapping up almost the severe weather season. This September has said not so fast, my friend. It is certainly throwing some curveballs at us, and will continue to do so, I think, as we go into Friday as well. All right, here's one more look at the Charlotte and Halifax County line storm. Again, now it is basically fully in Charlotte County, and it is still staying just to the east of Brookneal. Brookneal, you certainly have seen some rain here lately, but the worst of this cell is going to stay just to the east of you. As we broaden the scope one more time, show you what's going on with this cell up in Appomattox County. Again, the cell is now potentially moving out of Appomattox itself, moving a little bit further to the north. That one will be, I think, eventually potentially even pulling out of the viewing area, but before it does so, certainly bringing torrential downpours, maybe some small hail into areas near Oakville Road, also into areas near Horseshoe Road. This is Oakville right here. This is Appomattox Courthouse right here, and there's Vera, Old Gristmill Road, especially as you go through Vera, certainly seeing worse weather than what you're seeing as you get closer to Hollywood. Delaney, back to you.
So we're watching with this other, again, I have to specify, with multiple warnings into Halifax and Charlotte. What's interesting, the semblance of rotation that is now moving out of the polygon. So we have about 7 minutes until this does expire. But again, keeping an eye on that broad rotation here and popping on that radar layer to see exactly that heavier rainfall. And even then with this structure that we're looking at on the reflectivity, still seeing at least barely some curvature, at least some organization. But interestingly enough, the heaviest amount of rainfall, the semblance of rotation, it is further north to a little bit further out of that polygon, and even to that little cell that's to the south of it, not looking too impressive either. So again, we're still seeing at least a little bit, but not nearly as tight of a couplet as what we did see even just minutes before this was issued. So once again, that is the Halifax and Charlotte, that rotation out nearly further into Charlotte counties. And we will continue to keep an eye on that cell. But moving further north of that cell into Appomattox, we're still seeing at least a little bit of lightning, at least to the north of that, and at least a little bit of hail.
Do you see that little notch there, Delaney? Can we put on the storm relative velocity on that?
Yeah.
Again? Yeah. Okay, that's good. We're seeing that red little dot, but outside of that, that notch does not appear to be spinning too much as of right this second. So that's good news.
Yes,
but anytime,
that one right there, that inflow notch
Yep.
right there. Yep. That is definitely something worth watching, especially as these next couple stands to continue to come in. But that lightning, at least it has died down a little bit, and it's a little bit further north. If you'll pop back on that radar layer, further north up to at least the northern portion of that polygon. So areas that are still technically included in this warning, in southern Appomattox, Evergreen flood along 460 right there. You are in the clear while you are still technically included in this warning. That cell and that rotating cell has been moved further north into, let's see, that is about north of 24, north of 131. That is just north of Appomattox. And again, that has been a pretty slow mover. This is just now getting to the tippy top of that polygon, and this, as that warning, that was that entire area that was included, and is still seeing at least a little bit of the potentially some hail with that system into that Appomattox cell. So once again, that hail that is still with that rotation is signifying that rotation as well. Looking at that size, about a half inch still, that pea-sized hail that is experiencing with this. But again, as Jeff mentioned, it is nighttime, there is a lot of heavy rain, and this is pretty typical of these tornadoes that we see in this area. They are typically rain wrapped. You know, all those pictures that you imagine of those perfect funnel clouds that you see out into the plain states, those are very, what we call low precipitation supercells. And what we're seeing now, high precipitation supercells rather, and that is what is particularly dangerous at night, especially when we have all of these warnings with that heavy rainfall and along with that rotation that we are watching over the next few hours.
And Delaney, if you don't mind, because I can't hold the clicker and look at my phone with I only have two hands here. Go up to the cell up in Appomattox County. Other thing I want to mention with that is we have a flash flood warning. This is something that was just issued a little while ago. Flash flood warning for Appomattox County until 3:30 in the morning. 1 to 3 inches of rain have fallen, and additional amounts of up to an inch possible in that warned area. So not only are we dealing with that tornado warning, again, radar indicated, but we're also having the potential for some flash flooding. In addition to that, this was issued just a little while ago, too. We also have a flash flood warning for portions of Bland and Grayson counties, that in effect until 2:45. So, again, we're watching two different aspects of the weather tonight, and that is the spin going on and also the heavy downpours, the rainfall rates that we're seeing right now. Very, very impressive rainfall rates, no doubt, at least at this point. Before we go, and I'm hoping that the Weather Service cancels these at 9:45 as expected, but before we go, I need you to know that we're going to have about 1 to 4 inches of rain coming our way, maybe 1 to 5 inches of rain headed our way here on Friday. And when you're seeing cells like what we're seeing here locally tonight, this is going to saturate the ground. So my worry come Friday is going to be of flooding. Okay, the ground is going to be saturated. The ground is going to be saturated when we have a tropical air mass, a tropical system moving overhead. Again, the trends have been for this thing to move a little bit further west. With each passing run of Helene, it's moving a little bit further west, and that is helping us a touch. You don't want it to move any further east. If we can get it moving further west, that could help us in the long run. But tropical rain on top of an already saturated soil because of all the rain we dealt with here both yesterday and today could make for some pretty major flash flooding as we go into Friday. It's something we'll be watching for you very closely here at your local weather authority. All right, we've got about another 30 seconds before we find out what the Weather Service does with these warnings. But again, the cell that was in Halifax and Charlotte County is now solely in Charlotte County, and the cell that was right over Appomattox appears to be moving further to the north. So Appomattox itself, I think the worst of your weather is over. And as we take one more investigative look at the cell that is now in northern Appomattox County, that cell not only capable of heavy rain, also potentially a little bit of hail. The storm relative velocity on this thing, not what it once was. So for now, we're going to toss it back to programming with the hopes that in the next 30 seconds or so, we're going to see these tornado warnings expired from the National Weather Service. So for now, we'll get you back to regular programming. If another tornado warning is issued, we'll come right back.